Hey guys, it's me. I wanted to speak to you about something really interesting that is happening on the internet right now that could be potentially the next creator of the biggest companies, brands that we know in the world. And it is birthed from this continuous evolution of the internet as we know it. So internet has been through about 3 phases now. And the first phase was known as Web 1. Web 1 was the version of internet around the 1990s where you would be able to read pages online. You would only just put in the website link and wait probably for a couple of hours, and then and then eventually you would read what was on the website. That's all you could do. That was known as Web 1. And then eventually, as years continued to go by, there was an iteration of the internet known as Web 2. Now in Web 2, there was an introduction of the ability to interact with pages. This time you could read, but you could also write. And in fact, it birthed companies like Facebook, companies like Amazon, companies, really the big companies that you know of that were birthed from the ability to dynamically interact with content on the web. That is what largely we are still dealing with. For example, with Web 2, we became the content providers. Whereas in Web 1, the content providers were the companies that owned the website. But this time, we are the content creators. We are the ones who post on Facebook. We are the ones who post on YouTube, on Twitter. And then these companies monetize what we create. Now, there is a new iteration that is happening that is known as Web 3. Web 3 features the ability to interact with content in a more dynamic way. It introduces the concept of like virtual reality. It introduces, of course, there is a lot of automation that is happening online. Introduction of these virtual worlds, like an example of how Facebook is deciding to go into this whole new virtual reality, like creating experiences for people to be able to work in virtual worlds, to live in to really interact in an immersive way. Now, all this iteration has introduced, it really facilitated the birth of something known as blockchain. I want you to think about blockchain by breaking those words into two. First, block, and then chain. It is really a collection of lists, and each list containing a transaction, not necessarily financially, but transaction of information, of data, that is not governed by a single entity like the government or a single company. Instead, this time it is distributed, it is decentralized. So everyone contributes in this list, and when a list grows to a certain level, then it is converted into a block and stored away on the blockchain. Let's call it that. So then it becomes a chain of blocks. Now, this technology is incredibly powerful that governments are fighting it because it puts the power of the internet out of the hands of big companies, out of the hands of governments, and it puts this power into the hands of really ordinary people. That's why a lot of governments will be fighting this blockchain technology. Now, blockchain, now when people realize that, oh my goodness, we can have control over our data instead of big companies monetizing our data, we can control that and we can use our data as we wish. Then there were new innovations that came up that introduced a way of exchanging value, that instead of exchanging cash, physical money, what if there was a way of exchanging and storing value in digital money. And that birthed a new level of internet. Like it birthed new possibilities. And this is where things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other currencies that we know of as crypto were birthed from. Crypto really, it is a store of value, an exchange of value that facilitates transactions online. Okay, and the beautiful thing with cryptocurrencies is that they're not controlled by a single entity. They're not controlled by a government. They're not controlled by a single company. So they facilitate this, they give the power to people. Now, after cryptocurrencies were birthed, and this whole thing, as we know as the internet, as it continues to evolve, new possibilities begin to happen. And in this whole dance of innovation and creation, another asset class was birthed from cryptocurrencies, and then something called NFTs. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They are basically, it is like, think about it this way. An NFT is, it is a record that cannot be changed, that proves ownership and how it basically proves ownership and provides access in a very unique way. So if you were going to buy a house, they verify your bank account, they verify if you if you qualify to buy a house, they verify different aspects as they allow you to follow through this transaction. Now, NFTs provide a special way of storing data that no one can change, but also providing proof of ownership without involving third parties like big corporations or a big bank or government. And so NFTs are becoming the latest, let's call it innovation of the internet as this internet continues to evolve. And they provide unique possibilities. In fact, companies like Adidas, companies like Nike, companies like Facebook, as you will see in the next few days, in the next few weeks, Instagram is going to be rolling out new features that facilitate the ability to see who owns these NFTs, who owns these digital items. So I want you to think about NFTs also as like digitalized ownership of items, digitalized ownership of physical items, as much as it can also be virtual items. So NFTs are really like buzzing right now, especially in the US, in the UK, in the Western world, in also in like China and Asia. Why am I bringing you this information? I feel like it is the best time to begin learning about these new possibilities because they provide potential opportunities that if you ignore, you will only be catching this years later when you could have invested like in early Amazons, in early Facebook, in early Twitter, in early Instagram. These companies that were birthed out of the internet. So this new level of internet provides a new opportunity that unless you begin to open your mind to learn about these possibilities, you will continue to see them as scams, you'll continue to see them as lies, as things that don't exist. But I tell you, humongous companies, big companies, are staking large sums of money to invest in this new virtual world. Look how Facebook changed even its name to go into Meta, to become a virtual world company, if you want to call it. So this is just a reminder that just because you don't understand something, don't ignore it. Research it. Begin to Allow your mind to explore it, to see what could be possible and where there could be opportunities for you to invest, to profit, or to create. Right now, if you're an artist, you could become an NFT creator, an NFT artist. So anyway, if you like this kind of information, follow me, subscribe, like, comment, let me know. Give me your questions and I'll answer them in the next video. It's me again, and I just wanted to say peace.